they're typically not very, they don't really know the importance of what, not that they don't know the importance, but I mean, the way it is over here, when people hear that, oh, I studied microbiology, they're like, oh my God, like you must be really smart. This, that. It's not like that in Nigeria. When people hear that you studied something like microbiology, they just believe that it's because you couldn't get into medical school or something. So it's like, these are like programs, these non-professional biology courses, like veterinary science. These are programs that a lot of people look down on. So I'm curious to really hear from you. I want to know, um, I want to know, and I want you to highlight to people in the audience about the importance of having a degree in biology and life sciences in general. What is it to you? What are the, based on your background, how important is it? And, for the society, I want you to encourage us. Let's know that we're not just wasting our time, and that what we're doing, regardless of what we're studying, is really, really, really important. Can you just share that with me? So,
Yes, I can do that. I hope you guys can hear me clearly.
yeah.
First of all, I'll say good morning, good afternoon. It's always great to kind of have all this kind of discussion. Uh, so I'll just go straight to the question so I don't keep people waiting for a long time. Biology is very, very important. Okay, it's very, very important. But the main reason why it is kind of difficult in Nigeria is because of the environment. But now you have to begin to think about it in a very bigger picture. Think one step beyond where you currently stand. And that is when you begin to understand the relevance of what you're doing as a biologist. In Nigeria now, if you look at the society, it doesn't offer, I'm not saying, okay, you don't have cost and power, you can't do research, you need to be in a private institution for you to do research. Most of the time, I encourage people who are still going to school or people who just recently graduated to hold on to those fundamentals of biology that they learned when they were in undergraduates or when they were in secondary school. Hold on to those fundamentals. Then don't be myopic in your view. The first thing that really hurts a lot of people is being myopic. You just think beyond, okay, I'm in 100 level. You just think only to 200 level. No, think about when you get to final year. Think about what you want to do next. If you're in final year, think about, okay, what is the next step for me? Don't sit and wait for things to change. You have to propel yourself. There are so many research I did for the Air Force on fast moving jets, hypoxia, and stuff like that. Where did I get the biology knowledge from? SS3YX, right? There are so other many research I did at University of Cincinnati. Where did I get the biology research I used to get into Cincinnati from, or the biology idea? SS3. And those are just really very, very basic compared to you that went for a 4-year degree to look through the microscope. I never looked through the microscope once until I got to University of Cincinnati. But just understanding that fundamentals and understanding the fact that we engineers can't really do anything great because everything we're doing is channeled towards biology, is channeled towards the human race, is channeled towards how will this person react. If we send somebody to the moon, what will happen to their heart? What will happen to their blood, to their blood pressure? You can see everything is still biology. So you're in Nigeria and you feel so, oh, this is not relevant, begin to attach some importance to where you currently stand. That is all I just have to say. Begin to envision yourself. Now, anything in biology is research. Example, I can look at ants and it'll be my research. I can look at mosquito, it's my research. I can look at grass, it's my research. I can look at the air I breathe, it's my research. Anything at all, anything you can think of, mushrooms, even that garbage that you have in Lagos market, all those are all research areas. You never know what can come out of those things. So when you start having the mindset of everything surrounding me is research, then you become curious. You begin to ask the questions. Then you start going online to check some of all these things. Okay, why is it that mushroom grows in this area? Why is it that How do water get into coconut? I'm just giving you an example here. That drives your curiosity. And when you are asking questions, you begin to seek solutions. That takes you from that myopic trying to pass a lecturer's course, which is understandable, to being somebody with so many ideas that when you look at something, you can just tell yourself and say, oh, why is this thing not like this? And for you to ask that question, it means you might or somebody else might be able to solve it. When I finished mechanical engineering and I was applying to Cincinnati for a PhD, I went for the interview and they asked me, okay, you don't have a biology degree, you've never done a wet lab, you're a pure engineer, how do you think you're going to succeed? I said, well, I want to ask you one question. If you put a stent graft into somebody's coronary artery and the heart is beating and expanding and contracting, don't you guys see coronary artery blockage because you have a metallic stent in somebody's heart? Yeah, that's a problem. Okay, what if we make it biomaterial? What if we use the same biomaterial for diabetic wound healing? What if we make this biomaterial for brain aneurysm? I know the mechanical, I want to know the biology. And they say, all right, we don't have any issues. Come in full funding, we'll show you the biology, we'll put you in a lab where there's mice and all that. And it was all fun. So imagine me as an engineer having that level of excitement in biology, and I don't even know anything so much in biology. How will you that know the core of biology, how will you feel? I'll just leave that to you to answer. If myself, I don't know anything, I was feeling and I'm still feeling so excited about the opportunities that are in biology, assuming I had all the biology skills like you have that you are undermining, I will be doing like several works right now. I'll be an engineer, I'll be in the lab, I'll be doing this and that. So biology is so complex that anything you decide to pick up can take you to the next point in your life.
Thank
so
you
that's what I have to say.
for that answer. That's like perfect. I like the fact that you said that even as you're functioning as an engineer, nothing is possible without biology. You still have to come back to ask all those basic questions. How is it affecting people? How is it affecting their blood pressure? Even when you fly them to the moon eventually, at the end of the day, they're like, what is in the atmosphere? What are the microbes that are growing here? You know, even if nothing happens to their blood pressure, what are the things that they're going to be, you know, inhaling or whatever what is growing here that might potentially affect life? So everything. And this, you know, we've been hammering this ever since last week, that biology is important. That's just why I asked this question, because I want you in the audience to realize the importance of what you're doing. It's not a joke, you guys. Don't think about, the fact that people do not celebrate microbiologists or biochemists or whatever you are, or veterinary scientists, that what you're doing is small at all. It is very, very, without you, a lot of professions will not function. So let's just imagine, let's say John is lying, right? Because John is in the US, he can say anything. He's not the one that is living in Nigeria. Muiz, can you just chip in a little bit? Because you're in Nigeria, right? And you see things as well. You know, I feel like you are in the shoes of the majority of the people. But yeah, you decided to stay back in Nigeria to get your PhD in microbiology. Like, can you just chip in a little bit to what John said, just so that people have a balanced view, and it's not as if, it's somebody that is all the way in America and who's an engineer that's telling them all these things. Let me ask you something.
Just as Mr. Jonas said, he made mention of the word myopic. That mindset, I completely agree with it. To the concept that now science is multidisciplinary. You can't say because you're a microbiologist or biology or public health and you are an expert in that field. As a matter of fact, you usually need to interact with people in other fields of study for you to move on with your own research. Personally, I studied microbiology all through in some form or the other, but now most of what I do is into computational science, where I had to learn Python and managing scripts and all of that. So that mindset that science is not good enough, or it's what will I do with this? We usually need to purge ourselves. It's understandable the background we are in, that's Nigeria as it stands. Or for you to make a breakthrough, you always have to think outside the box.
That's like so deep. Like what you just said is so important. I shared with them last week that me as a microbiologist, I wasn't able to do anything until I collaborated. That was what gave my research significant importance, until I started collaborating with polymer chemists that were making biomaterials that were supposed to so the reason we're making those biomaterials is because we're trying to replace the use of antibiotics, because antibiotics is going to become a problem. So they were making these biomaterials and they had no way of testing it. And I was the one that was like, okay, how are you going to test this thing? How are you so sure that it's not going to be like the antibiotics that we're trying to get rid of? Are you sure that by the time people use this thing, it will not harm them? I was the one answering those questions on the biology side, and John made mention of this as well. And if you look at Nika is working in a chemistry project where people are basically using toxic chemicals to be to make pots, right? What she's doing is she's trying to test the effect of those toxic chemicals on human beings, but you can't test it on human beings. So she's starting with the smallest microorganism, which is in bacteria. She's trying to see how are these toxic chemicals affecting the bacteria, because if you can understand how it affects the bacteria, you can have a bigger idea of how it affects the humans, right? Nika, am I just nod your head if you're feeling me? So you guys, let me tell you something. Biology is like so important. We're not going to waste time on that. We're just going to go straight into it. So I just wanted to put that out there to you in case you're feeling like I might as well just leave. There's no job. You have to stop myopic thinking, just as Dr. Muiz has already shared with us. All right, so let's just go straight into graduate school applications, especially in Nigeria. Let's start with Nigeria first before we move on to the US. Muiz, I'm going to start with you because you're the only Nigerian on the panel. People seem to think that until you have traveled abroad for a graduate education, you are just wasting your time. In your opinion, is this true or false? Why or why not? Like, is it true? Like, is it true that until you travel out of the country, your master's degree from the University of Ibadan is not worth a cent?
For me, I won't say getting a postgraduate study in Nigeria is useless or anything. I don't agree with that at all. But I usually emphasize, because of the kind of environment we are in, where you may have the theoretical background, but the hands-on approach is difficult to get. Right. So that international exposure is very important. I've been fortunate to pass through a private school and a public school, and I know the difference in both settings. Now, you see, generally, I'll just say getting a degree in Nigeria is not useless in any way. You can literally use that degree either here in Nigeria or outside the country, or in any country globally. But it's usually important to prepare yourself for the international community, whether you are studying here or anywhere else.
That's like so important. I like that answer, is that whatever you're doing, it's not about where you are. It should be about how you're going to be able to compete globally. So you went to get your master's at the UI, then you got your PhD in Babcock University. There's no disrespect or respect to any of the universities, but what was most impactful for your graduate degree at both universities? How did your experience from UI inform how you made your decision about your PhD? Share with us, in case there are some people that have been trying to apply. We're telling them that microbiology is easy, biology is easy, but then they're trying to apply and they're not getting in. So how should they be more careful about the choices that they make, so that they don't just go and get a master's degree just for the sake of getting a master's degree? Do you get, like, how can they carefully put themselves in positions where they're working, they're doing projects that is giving them the ability to compete internationally, with mentors that are of that same mindset? Because you see some people working with mentors in Nigeria that are telling them, you will not graduate. Like, you will not graduate or things like that, or you sit down here for 5 years for a master's degree. Those are real problems in Nigeria. So how can they be more careful about those decisions so that even if they study in Nigeria, they're doing it, they're getting the real deal. And at the end of the day, they'll be able to get international opportunities just like you.
I'll just use myself as an example. My ending up in the University of Ibadan wasn't a first choice. I happened to be serving in Ibadan at that time, and just like virtually every other Nigerian my age, my first option was to leave the country, and that's what I was preparing for. A friend of mine just walked up and mentioned that UI's form is available and all of that. Since they were just at my back, I just told the person to help me get the form and such and such. Then, as it turns out to be, my pursuit of leaving the country didn't work out. So I just, rather than although the course I applied for in University of Ibadan, the same thing I was trying to pursue outside the country. But I just, rather than, since I already have that, let me just go ahead with it. That being said, and not discrediting anything from University of Ibadan, I came from a private university for an undergraduate study. And moving from there to University of Ibadan was this, should I say, cultural shock per se. It was so completely off. Think exposure, graduates from private to get slandered often that you bought your degrees, you did such and such and all of that. And for me, getting into their setting, I was expecting a lot. And I walked into their lab, we started our research. I happened to be the only one who could use a microscope. And we were there for master's degree. So for me, it was, if I could go back in time, I won't go to University of Ibadan anymore. It wasn't a very pleasant experience for me. And aside the degree, knowledge-wise, theoretically, yes, I gained something. But the hands-on skill that is important to help my career, I didn't gain that in Ibadan. Equipment were not available. Electricity, your supervisor is not readily available. All of that, you need to begin to push things through and through. So before I left, then my supervisor, one of the first Professor Odunfa, he actually asked me to stay back for my PhD with him, but I told him I only had two options. Is either I leave the country to further my studies, or I go back to, I highlighted two possible supervisors in Nigeria. And well, I had to go back to known ground. I highlighted my current supervisor or my recent supervisor, Professor Ezekiel, and well, one of my old lecturers, Dr. Alabi. Now, I picked those people because they taught me in the past, and when it comes to their knowledge base, for me, they were smart. And I picked them and their career as my benchmark, as say, where they've gotten to is the lowest point I should attain for myself. That was what informed. So I picked them as a benchmark for myself because I saw them as high rewarding or high earning or well accomplished researchers. Now with that, well, I ended up with Professor Ezekiel as my supervisor, and that is going back at Babcock University now. Now that experience in itself, if I could go back in time over and over again, I'll continue to pick this man because the mistakes he had made in the past, he helps me avoid that. For my first publication, my first author publication actually went to a paper that was about 13 point something in pass factor, and that's pretty high for someone that is just starting. And yes, he advised all of that, how I should go about it, what to do and how to do and what's not. Now, through him and his collaborators, I was able to get into laboratories in Austria, South Africa, and all of that. So he kind of gave my own career a jump start, pushing me forward for the global scene. Even now, while I finish in itself, I'll say he kind of discouraged the looking for a job in Nigeria because he has built me to a certain stage where he knows my potential. Yeah. He pushed me towards a certain direction also to place me well prepared enough for the global scene. Now, for like the collaboration I got with a researcher in the UK, although she's a Nigerian as well. It was through things I gathered from him I was able to secure that new collaboration. And well, this is very important to everyone listening. For me, I got hold of the person, I checked through our LinkedIn profile, our research background, then I sent her a mail stating my interest. I need us. I want to do a postdoctoral program, although I'm not done with my PhD yet. I told her when I got into contact with her sometime last year, I think September last year. I've been having a back and forth since then. And I sent her a mail. That being said, if you send people mails and they don't reply, it's nothing. The worst you can get is no, but still make that first step. Now, what piqued or what irked her interest is my knowledge on bioinformatics. And she stated clearly that in the UK where she is, there's not a lot of people that are skilled in that field. So they are in demand there. Now you see, exposure from my supervisor here prepared me for opportunities outside the country. So I'll say for one, when you decide to pursue a postgraduate study, whoever you will be your mentor is key. Because it's the energy that person pushes towards you that also jumpstarts your own career. I hope I've been able to cover that well.
Yes. And I just want to reiterate so that people don't misunderstand us right now or misunderstand you that this isn't even about Babcock University or the University of Ibadan. It's not about that. It's not about the institution. It's about the mentorship that he got. So we're not saying you should go to Babcock or you should go to any private university. Go to a public university, but be very careful about who you select as your advisor, because from hearing Tosin's story, what I got from the mentor was somebody who, you see, a lot of people in a lot of mentors in Nigeria now, you see that mentor that Tosin had was someone who cared not only about Tosin, but also about his career. You have to look for a mentor that is thinking about the fact that the person I mentor also has an impact on my own career. So I've always, when I was doing my PhD, when I was going through, it was a little bit difficult. I went through a rocky start, and I got somebody that sat me down and told me and was like, look, listen to me here today. Everything that you're going through, everything that your advisor is teaching you hard now, it's not about you. It's a little bit about you, but also about them, because your success is also their success. So when you're looking to go for a master's degree, don't just go, they're selling for me Unilag, let me go and buy, boom, enter Unilag or go to IFE. Look at the people that you're working with. What are they publishing? What are they doing? What type of collaborations are they getting? Are they getting grants? Are they able to propel me forward? Are they people that want me to spend 7 years in doing my PhD? Or people that want to push me out as soon as I can? People that are going to be pushing me that, listen, go and apply to CDC tomorrow, even though you have a degree from University of Ibadan. That's what you should look at. It's not about Babcock University or University of Ibadan. It's about the mentorship that you get. So before you go for your master's or a PhD degree in Nigeria, carefully think about your mentor, carefully look at them. What are the work, who are the people that they work with? What is the impact of the work that they are doing on a global scale? That should really help you tailor down on what you should do. If you understand what we're talking about, put it in the chat box. Put it there. But we're not moving on to US, you guys. We're not seeing anything. John and Nike, should we leave? Anyway, okay, let me ask you this question, Tosin. You shared with me when we spoke a couple of weeks ago that you got, was it Canada you got an admission in? Yeah, you got an admission in Canada before you even started your PhD, but then you turned it down and you stayed in Nigeria to get your PhD degree. And it's not as if things were rosy for you, right? So that was really, really, really interesting to me, because I want you to share with us, why did you do that? Is it about, because for me, everybody, once they hear Canada, everybody's like, when we get there, we'll figure it out. When we get there, we'll somehow, it will work out at the end of the day. But that's not always the situation, you guys. People are not always telling you the whole truth. So don't say because an opportunity has jumped in your face, then you rush and get it. that was really odd for me to hear that somebody turned down a degree. You got admission in Canada and you turned it down and you decided to stay in Nigeria. Was it the same thing about mentorship or what? What was it for you?
I did get an admission into. I'd already gone through the visa processing and all of that. I've gotten the visa before, but it was a diploma program that was leaning towards a health caregiver or something like that. And now for me, I know my capacity. I know what I want for myself in the future. If I get to Canada and I go ahead with that course, what next? Do I begin to proceed in that line career-wise? If I get there, the first year, the first 5 years, I may be able to get incomes that would be okay for someone that is single. But when I'm ready to settle down, with that degree, be able to sort out my family needs, or as I grow, will I be able to grow along with that degree? Now, having a master's degree, then falling back to a diploma that is not even close to my undergraduate or master's program, it kind of puts me off. I got in contact with, I have a number of friends over there in Canada, and I got in contact with one of my very close friends there, and she personally advised that it makes according to her, it makes more sense to pursue the PhD rather than getting there, and she highlighted many reasons, including the financial part of it. Now, for me, she just kind of, it was the icing on the cake for me, listening to someone there already advising me not to pursue that. And I did speak with my supervisor about it as well, and well, he left it to me to pick. And I kind of thought about it. A PhD will place me in a global market. A diploma will place me in a streamlined market where I'll be competing with people with BScs, MScs, and other specialties. And the finances were just off. So what I just decided was the money I was meant to spend on relocating there, I used it to cover my tuition here. Mm-hmm. And since tuition was covered, my own sustenance is the next thing now. And it's kind of informed, more or less, I had to begin to look for means to sustain myself. Based on, it wasn't, well, at the beginning it wasn't so easy because my parents thought my decision was crazy. Although they supported me quite all right, but they thought the decision was crazy. Till now, my friends still tell me I'm crazy for doing that. But I don't regret it, and I still don't, because of the opportunities I have. Now I have to pick opportunities now, rather than fall back to streamlining something. So if I look back, I don't regret that decision at all. But it's also sustainable. Before it became common now, I was already exposed to the remotes and working remotely. So I had to take up 1 or 2 contracts somewhere. Well, before I got informed about bioinformatics, I picked up online contracts that had to do with sometimes data analysis, sometimes basically English transcriptions and all of that. And by the time we get all of those contracts, I get paid in dollars. By the time I convert it to Naira, it's ridiculously significant. Although in dollars is maybe $300, $500, it's small. But by the time you convert it in Naira, it covers me for a while. So doing a lot of that from time to time, it just kept me going also.
That was actually going to be my next question, but I want to piggyback on the previous, on what you said about, a diploma in healthcare versus a PhD in industrial microbiology. Is, for everybody in the audience that's listening to us right now, as much as a lot of people want to travel abroad or jackpot in quotes, don't jackpotting incorrectly is not always the right thing to do, because you will suffer for it when you get here. People don't always tell you that. The narrative is when you get there, you figure it out. Don't say, oh, because you got an opportunity to go, you should always go. Look at it, sit down very well, ask people that will tell you the truth. how is it going to be for me with this particular offer that I'm getting when I travel abroad? I've had people that have asked me, I want to come and start over there. When I come in my first semester, I have money for my first semester, but the rest of my semester, I will hustle. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You want to hustle to pay school fees. It's hard. Like, listen to people, right? So as much as you want to run away, jackpotting incorrectly is not always the right thing to do. So be very, very careful about that. And I'm glad that you touched on the fact of how you touched on the way that you sustain yourself, because that was going to be my next question. We just talked about Babcock University versus University of Ibadan. It's hard. Like, not everybody has money to pay tuition. At the end of the day, when you're doing your PhD, do you get a scholarship? Do you get a stipend? Like, how are you able to balance that? That's what I wanted to ask, but I think you already touched on it. But if you want to flesh it out, go ahead, John.
Yeah, let me chime in. Tosin, what you said is absolutely fantastic. Before we move to the next question, I just wanted to back up his point. When you ask yourself the question, what next? I think that's what a lot of people need to ask themselves. It's not just about just jumping the boat. You need to be able to sit down and say, okay, what next for me? When I was in 400 level, ASU had this long strike that went for like 6 months. And I was like, let me just go write the SAT. Let me move to America. I was already in 400 level and I went to write the SAT. I passed. I got computer science admission in undergraduate here. I went to the visa process. When I was filling my DS-160, I reached out to my uncle and said, look at what I want to do. I want to leave Nigeria. I'm already in 400 level mechanical. And I want to come here. This strike is taking forever. And he said, why not just wait? Finish 1 year, come for a master's. Now, if you leave and come for a bachelor's, you have to go 4 years again before you even think about a master's. And if you get denied a visa and you come back to your mechanical and you finish after a year, you want to now apply for a master's. They are going to ask you, you had a bachelor's, just 1 year later or 2 years, you are coming to apply for a master's. What happened? So what Tosin said is absolutely correct. Always ask yourself the question, what next? Never be in a hurry to jackpot, in quote, because you might just be jackpotting into trouble, into mess, into a situation that you don't know what next.
Yes.
And this is not a country, and these are not countries where okay, you can say, oh, this is my neighbor. Hey, please, can you borrow me something there? Oh, I need to survive. You need to be able to move and be sure about where you're going. You have to do your own research, not somebody. Sometimes people will say, yes, I've done my research. One agent advised me to move. It's not the agent that needs to do your research for you. You have to do your research for yourself. You have to use this kind of platform to ask questions, because you just get a wrong mindset. When you get here now, you're kind of confused. You keep asking yourself, what next? What will I do? What will I do? Just like what Tosin said. If I get this diploma, where am I going? Like what's up with this? But he has spent a couple of years now to get a PhD, and with this PhD, he can go anywhere. Sometimes you have to spend that few extra years to be able to move. It's just like, don't move one step when you can spend 3 years here and move to a higher step.
Steps.
And that's what he just did. He didn't just grab the next opportunity. He asked the question, did his research. Now it's already up here. So at the end of the day, it's a win situation.
Right.
So don't just feel you want to run away or you want to leave Nigeria and you want to come overseas anywhere, America, UK, Ireland, Canada, and you feel it's going to be easy. It's a different kind of challenge that you need to ask yourself, are you ready for it? So Tosin, great stuff. I like that mindset.
Absolutely, 100%. So to the final question about Nigeria before we move on to the USA, there are people here that truly and truly they can't afford to go to Babcock University. They also have to think about getting the bills paid. How are they going to pay their rent, money, and all of that? Is there anything that you can tell somebody, because they have to choose between going to Babcock University and University of Ibadan? Yes, we've already talked about the importance of mentorship, but this is real life. They don't have money. What is your advice to them? How can they be able to make that decision and to be able to stick through it and survive? Because we don't want people to be emotionally drained about their finances while they're trying to get their degree.
Let me just retrace, especially regarding the Babcock University thing. I didn't pick Babcock University because of the school. I picked the supervisor. If you remember, I said what I asked myself was either I travel or I work under this person. So if that mentor I selected was in University of Uyo, I'm going to look for him all the way there because I had the targets for myself. But falling back to your question now, it's still kind of going to fall back to networking and discussing with your mentor. They're already exposed to grants and financing opportunities. For me, although I was privileged to have my tuition covered, but my research in itself altogether ran into millions with S of naira, and all of that what came out of my own pocket is insignificant compared to all the amounts that was spent. And that was through the network of my supervisor. And I remember correctly, there was, the grant I was awarded for my study was through him. Not through him, but he was the one that pushed for it. He asked me, write up a proposal for this. Go ahead and apply for this. He was the one that pushed me to do that. Now, I also remember vividly there was a time there were grants available to Nigerian students, African students, and even to females. All the females here, we usually make a joke in our lab often that the gender inequality thing, the females have the world is your oyster at the moment. Because what we've come to realize that if 10 people apply for a grant, if there is 1 female and 9 males, and there are 2 opportunities, they will give the female that one and make the 9 other males compete for that extra slot.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of grants, a lot of opportunities available for females. Not to discourage the males, there are opportunities available for you as well. For me, I was able to get aware of a lot of study grants, although I'd already paid for my tuition, so I couldn't pursue them anymore. But there are many research grants, study grants, tuition fee grants for people coming from developing countries that can begin to explore. The most difficult part of it is developing a proposal. After that, everything else comes easy. So I think all you have to do is make an attempt. And if you fail the first time, fail the second time, you keep trying. At some point, you succeed at it.
Thank you so much. That was like the perfect answer. I always like to tell people that, they'll say, you're Black, you're a female. The same thing that disqualifies you is the same thing that will qualify you for many, many, many opportunities. So yes, let me be Black. I like being Black like that. Do you know how many opportunities that that are open to me because I am Black and because I'm a female? So you guys, let us know if you have been able to learn 1 or 2 things about Nigeria. I think that's about it for Nigeria. Let's know. Put it in the chat. Is this helping you out? Are you encouraged? We're all for you here, but if we don't hear from you, then we need to be able to know the impact of this. Put it in the chat. Let's know what this is doing for you before we move on to the US of A. Tosin says he's learned a lot. Who else? Only Tosin. Now, wow. After all these hot gist that we've been dropping here. Put it in the chat, you guys. Let's see. Really informative. Thank you, Melvin. Melvin, shout out. Melvin is from Kenya. Can you guys believe that? People are joining us from Kenya to learn about these opportunities. Very encouraged. Hannah says she's gaining a lot. Adetutu says her eyes are open. she's gained direction so far. We haven't even gone far. So very, very great. This is why we're here, to be able to help you. So you don't feel helpless. You don't feel like, oh, I'm all alone. There are no opportunities. There are opportunities. You just head Tosin. Even if you're not able to pay your tuition, there are so many educational grant opportunities that you can apply to and get as well. So go and follow him on LinkedIn. If you want more info, this is just an informative session for you to hear. But the next part is up to you to follow up on it, to do the research and be like, Tosin, I heard you talking about a tuition, whatever scholarship. Is there anyone that you know? Can you help me? And from there, boom, you just keep going and you keep applying. So don't hear and be stagnant. Otherwise, there was no point of you coming here. Here, follow up, research, apply yourself, and keep going. Uni says that now she knows that she's not just picking any course because the opportunities are available. She needs to think ahead and see how that opportunity will help serve her beyond now. That's amazing. All right, let's move to USA. USA. Okay. All right, I didn't catch you too. We're just going to go straight to it. Can you please walk us through the admission processing of getting into schools in the US? What is it like? What are the primary requirements as of today? Are there exams that we need to take? Because remember, I talked about starting early gives you a good foot forward. Are there exams that we need to take? How long is the admission processing? When should we start applying? Knowing what you know now, how would you advise a final year student who wants to go to school in the US to do it so they don't waste unnecessary time? Can you explain? Let me even let you start first, and maybe I'll keep asking you all these questions as we go. So please just walk us through the admission processing, because again, you find out that a lot of people, they graduate from school, they're not thinking about what they want to do. Then they now hear that their friend Adenike she got admission. They're like, Adenike, you got admission, how did you do it? Then Adenike tells them, you have to write the GRE, you have to write the TOEFL, you have to apply. But they're asking you this question in December when the deadline has already closed for August admission in 2021. Now they have to wait till September 2021 before they apply for something in 2022. So because they didn't start early, they already have a disadvantage of 2 years. So can you walk us through that? Like what is the process like for getting into schools in the US?
Hi, thank you, Yetunde. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Nike, and looking at our timeline of application into grad school in the United States, it's sort of, there are basics, and then based on what you want, then it can be also directional. In the United States, there are like 2 semesters. We have the fall and then we have the spring semester. The fall semester starts in August, and then the spring starts in January. And you guys can correct me, okay? Yeah, so like I said, it depends. If you're coming for master's program, if you only want master's, then I can say you can still apply through to, like, the application opens right basically for fall. So for example, if you want to come for fall 2022, which is like gonna be starting like August 2022, then the application portal actually opens around September. Basically, most program open around September 2021, so you can apply for August 2022. And it depends, like I said, it depends on the program you're applying to. And if you're applying for masters, I think most masters are still open to like April and through to May, sometimes even June. But most PhD are always around like February, from like September to like February. So that gives you like 5 months window for your application into August 2022.
But you have to realize that the more you draw it out, if you're waiting, so if there are 100 schools that open their application portal in September, if you wait till March, there will be only 5 schools remaining that you have to apply to. So instead of you to have had opportunities to apply to 100 schools, now you are only applying to 5 schools.
Exactly.
So the earlier you start, the better for you.
Definitely, of course, definitely, because most institutions are highly competitive, right? You have a lot of people applying, and then if you get an offer, you know, it's just, I mean, most people get offers, right? And then it depends on how people accept and reject the offers, that leaves the window from like January to like maybe April for other students. So like you said, Yetunde said, like Dr. Yetunde said, you have to apply early, that's for sure. Because if everyone, like for 2022, I can say it's highly competitive. Like a lot of people applied and it was really, really competitive. But then if you apply early, definitely have better chances. And then, you know, the other open slot from like January to like April would then be for people that, you know, rejected their offers, and then they can give you slots. Now, talking about basic requirements, generally for the United States, you know, biomedical science program, biological science program, bioinformatics program, basically what they require, most schools require, is your, you know, transcripts. And you know, it could be official, it could be unofficial, it could be evaluated, right? A lot of schools, you know, request for unofficial, right? Like that's just like you getting a scan of your transcript from your undergrad, and then you upload it on their portal, and that will be good to go. But then others like expect you to have, like, you know, evaluate your transcripts into, you know, US 4.0 grade, and that's quite, could be a process and quite expensive. It depends. It's worth about $250. You spend like $300 roughly. I don't want to attach a price, but I'm pretty sure West is $210, and they're looking at the process of sending you a transcript and all of that. So if you sum that up, it's probably like 300. So it's not all schools that requires that. If you can afford it, it's good. But some schools will outrightly tell you they don't want West evaluated transcripts, and some will be like, yes, we want West evaluated transcripts. So it depends on how the schools you're applying to and what their requirements are. So
I like that point, Adenike, because and Abbas and I were talking a while ago, and he mentioned something about knowing your what's that word you said? You said knowing your deal breaker. So if you start early, you have, the world is your oyster. You could have 500 schools that are available to you. But out of these 500 schools, you might say that I am not going to apply to schools that are asking you to do West. Do you understand? But you can only have that deal breaker when you start early, right? You can say out of these 500 schools, I'm not doing West. I don't have $200 to pay. West, go away from my face, right? Then you have maybe 300. Out of the 300 schools, you can be like, okay, I don't want to do what? I don't want official transcripts. You take out 100, right? You're only looking. So this is how you make those decisions. Do you understand? And that's why it's important for you to start early, because if you start late, you only find schools that want you to do everything. They want you to do West, they want you to do official transcripts, they want you to do TOEFL, and you don't have, I mean, what would you do? If you want to go to school, you have to do everything. So start early. That's my point. And Abbas can back me up on this. Again, if you start early, if you apply to schools that, you know, if you start in September, maybe they'll give you your decision in January. You still have the opportunity to apply to schools between January and March, you know, that you might have another opportunity to get in before it's too late for August of that year. So it's important for you to start early. I did that. The first 4 schools I applied to, I think I applied to them in like September. They gave me my decision in January. As of January, I started applying again to schools that were open up until April. That one again, they denied me. So I was like, hey, now, wow, do you get? So starting early gives you have room to explore, you have room to do things. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. Continue.
Yeah, if I may had to apply early. So I was actually in the application process last year, like around, you know, July, already around this month last year, I already started my SOP because I was looking towards applying really early, September 1st. That is very, very, very important. I was in this last year, like I said, and yeah, some of the programs I applied to, they have like the application deadline like December 1st, January 1st, some February, and I realized that by December, they already knew like the students they are inviting for interviews. They already know like, oh, these are the students that we're considering. And even though the application window was open to like February, all the students that apply from like January to like that ending, they were just paying the application to submit an application. They're not being considered at all because all of the recruitment events. So basically, most for biomedical science, they have recruitment events where you're invited for interviews and all of that. And those are always because my experience was during the COVID-19, so a lot of them were like virtual. They already know by December, I already got like lots of interviews before even Christmas. So at that time, that means you have all of us that were invited, submitted our application, prior to mid-December. And at that time, they already have scheduled of interviews even till February. And their application portal is still open to February. So that leaves people submitting from, mid-December to like February, in which the application portal is still open to just submitting, and they're not gonna get any response.
You don't waste the application fee.
That's just what it is. And it's really, really very important, like you said, like you can't joke with it. Some closes like December, and all of that, but even those are open to like February, they already made their choices in December, January, giving out admissions, and it's just gonna be depending on people that rejected their offers that will now be left, that will now make availability for people that really, really applied late, which sometimes may not work for you. So emphasis on applying early, like by September, make sure you have all your application ready, and letter of reference and all of that. So talking about requirements, aside from your transcripts, yes, if you apply early, if you know what you're doing, looking into programs you want to apply to, schools you want to apply to, like Dr. Yesterday said, it will help you streamline what you think you can make do within the short time. WES evaluation takes a lot. In fact, before you think about sending your transcripts from Nigeria, I tried doing WES, right? I tried doing WES last year, and my transcript from where you got into WES office around like March or February, when I already made the choice of the school I wanted to go, and I got my offer, I already signed up for everything, and I'm like, okay, what if I needed this WES? It took them like roughly 5 months before my transcript from OAU got into WES office, and I'm like, okay, what if I needed it around August,
right,
September last year? So if you want to do WES, I mean, for people with low CGPA, it's good because it helps you boost your CGPA in some ways. But if you can't afford it, then you don't need it. And if your CGPA, you think your CGPA, if you have 3 points, if you do so the WES has they has this unofficial WES CGPA calculator where you can just do your evaluate your CGPA from 5.0 to 4.0, and if you can make up to like 3.0 out of 4.0, I think you're good to go. Even though but to be more competitive, right? But in as much as you make 3.0, that's basic.
That's usually the cutoff. They're usually like between 3 and up.
Yeah, so if you have like 3.0, you should be fine. And so that's about transcript. So if you want to do WES, if you think you want to do it, targeting schools, and if I should chip this in, if you want to go into public health, right? You want to go into public health and epidemiology, biostatistics, a lot of the schools, I mean, the most registered one uses SOFAS. And if you want to go into those kind of schools, you have to do your WES evaluation. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them. There are only few public health programs that do not take WES. So if you are the kind that are interested in, I want to do public health, MPH, and all of that, then I will advise you get your WES started right now, or your transcript evaluation is gonna flop. Sending the transcript and also evaluating it. So that's that about.
John, you wanted to add something to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Let me just add to what Nika is saying. Sometimes you can actually progress with unofficial transcripts. So WES takes a long time, and if you even look at Nigeria, because the way WES works is that they send your transcript from Nigeria to WES. So you have to pay WES. You have to pay WES about $210. You have to pay your school to send your transcript. That is almost about 60,000 naira or 50,000 naira from the last time I heard. Now your school can do it in two ways. They can send it electronically, or they can use FedEx. So your school can say, we'll send it electronically, 100,000, or we send it FedEx, 50,000. Now you send it through FedEx. It takes a long time for WES to receive it. Now WES will get your transcript, send your school back another message saying, did this transcript come from here? Verify that this information is correct. Now, sometimes WES sends something that is not true, something that is not the real transcript you sent to your school, because they are trying to catch a fraudulent transcript. So a grade you had a C, WES can put a D and send it back to your school. Now your school will now verify. That is why some schools in Nigeria, they can't do WES. For example, University of Port Harcourt. Your school will now verify and say, yes, all the information here is correct. Oh no, this is not correct. Here is supposed to be a C. Why is it a D? They play those games a lot. Yes, with Nigeria. Yes. That is why it takes a long time.
That. Wow.
No, that is why it takes a long time. So when it gets back to WES, once it gets to your school, it's not left for your school to now double check everything, check your name, check your grade, and confirm to WES and say, yes, this is correct. Then WES go ahead to say verified, good to go. So this takes a long time, and it also depends on your school. So what most people do is that before you transition to now most people start thinking about graduate school maybe in 300 level, right? From 200 level, I mostly tell people, I don't know where a lot of people in this group stand, if they are still in school, they are finished school, but if I want to go to people who are still in school, undergraduate, from 200 or 300 level, while your mates are having fun and enjoying schools and all that, start trying to come up with an email, work with somebody, come up with a very short email, send it to like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 different professors. Hey, you are still in your junior year, or you are still in your, work with somebody who is in the country where you want to go to, because that person will tweak your language. There are a lot of professors here that don't know how the English people communicate. You can say, I'm in 300 level. A typical American professor doesn't know what is 300 level. He only knows senior, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. So you are feeling you are communicating. Oh, I'm in 300 level microbiology. He's like, why are you not in 100? Why are you not in 500 level? Why are you in 300? Why are you not in 1000 level? Like, but when you work with somebody who is here that will tell you, oh, I'm a sophomore in the microbiology major in Nigeria. I'm interested in maybe in the alpha protein. I've seen your research. I'm still very young in this field, but I'm kind of wondering a lot of things alpha protein can do. This professor is more interested in you because you're still young in the game. You have this passion. He will respond to you and say, oh, yes, I have a lot of things going on. Now, you haven't really posed the question that you want to come to grad school. You are building that relationship. And I've seen a lot of people that the professors are just interested in them, because you are not just writing a professor Because as you finish your college, it's difficult compared to when you start building this relationship way, way back. Because you just email professor, hey, I'm interested in your lab. Do you have funding? They'll say they get a lot of all these emails every day. People just want funding and they are tired. Because I'm a perfect example. When I got to my master's, I didn't have funding. I came into America, I didn't have any funding. I just walked up to the professor. I knocked on his door. I already did my research. Look at what he did. I knocked on his door. I said, hey, I'm John. I'm here for the grad program. I want to just learn. I want to learn. You teach me because I've seen a lot of things you do. So he started asking me some mechanical questions that some of them I got, some of them I didn't get. And he said, I cannot pay your fees. I don't have money to pay your fees. But if you want to learn, I can work with you. I said, sir, I'm not worried about the fees. Even if I was worried, now this is where you have to put in your Nigerian hat and be smart. Even if I knew that I didn't have source of income to pay my fees, I had to be smart because I had to ask myself, how can I be different? A lot of people are definitely going to come look for money. And professors are not really interested in, you just come and look for the money from me. What are you contributing? That is why you see, and Nika, sorry, I'm taking too much time. That is why you see people that are coming for thesis masters, they have assistantship. People that are coming for coursework, they don't have assistantship because you are supposed to give out something, not collecting something from the school. So if you come for a thesis masters, you are giving out a publication, a paper, a dissertation, or whatever. But if you come for a coursework, it's the school that is giving you something. So why should they pay you to give you something? So I said, sir, I know I'm going to work in the school cafeteria, I'm going to work in the kitchen, but the overall goal here is I want to learn. Just teach me. And I left 2 days time. When I came back, the guy said, I see a lot of people coming to that door every time. Once I tell them I don't have money, they say, okay, thank you, and they leave. I'm the richest professor in this department. Some of my fundings, some other professors, they use it. So, but when you said you need that you will go work in the school cafeteria, then I understood that you are not really after the money, you are after the knowledge. And that is what I want. That guy sponsored me for 2 years. When I got to, after my master's, the school gave me a PhD in mechanical and agriculture. In fact, I had 2 PhDs, one from Cincinnati, one from South Dakota State University that I went to. And I'm like, he said, the Dean of Engineering said he would pay for the PhD. So you can see from not having fund to showing interest in, I want to learn, to having to multiple source of funding. So what that tells you is that try to build connection, not trying to get money. Because why? If you're in Nigeria, you want to reach out to a professor, don't ask about money. Don't say, do you have a research in your lab that I can work with, or do you have any form of graduate assistantship? Don't ask, because a lot of people are already doing the same. Instead, criticize his work from the little you know. Ask technical questions. Sir, you said alpha protein, once it turns right, it can merge with this. What if it has all the, just like, I'm just trying to come up with a makeup point here. Try to ask technical questions. That is what draws the person to be interested, to say, okay, no, alpha protein cannot merge this way because this. Oh, I didn't know that, but that is true. Sir, do you have any idea on what this is? Here's that. Because one thing I like about biology, any question can be a source of fund. Any question that is asked can be the next funding for the professor.
Absolutely.
So when you are somebody that always asks questions, you get the embrace. Now, once you get the embrace, you now say, I would like to I want you to mentor me further, I've started putting in my application into the biology program in your school. Sometimes, how does this admission work? I actually worked on an admission for a guy in Nigeria. No, in fact, two guys. They submitted application, no response, 4 months, 5 months. And they told me on LinkedIn, and I went to meet the graduate coordinator. I said, hey, there are two exceptional students from Nigeria that saw that I'm in this school and they are interested. These guys are more intelligent than I am. And the graduate coordinator looked at me and said, well, what are their names? He typed in their names and he said, are you sure? I said, yes. He said, you sure? I said, yes. He said, all right, I'm going to accept the two of them. Accept. He said, you need one more professor to accept them. So go talk to your mentor, because we need only 2 professors to accept. That is how they work in that school. Some other schools might be different. We need only 2 professors. So I went to talk to my mentor and say, hey, there are 2 guys from Nigeria. They are great. They work smart. We went to the same undergrad. We did research together. He's like, are you sure? Yes. Why do you feel? I say, see, if I leave, these guys, they are seeing what I do. They are even challenged. They are even asking me, how is this? Okay, accept. When I was leaving the professor's office to go tell those guys that, wait, they already wrote me WhatsApp messages to say, man, I just got admission letter. So it's automatically generated. Somebody doesn't have to go sit down there to be doing all those nonsense. Once they just accept it, you already get the letter shot to you. Then I went ahead to say, now you guys don't have funding. It's been 5 years, you guys left school. Let me go and try to convince the professor if they can put like half tuition in your conditionally in your I-20. And I went to talk to my professor and he said, okay, I can offer them a letter and say, okay, if you meet this requirement, there's a possibility for you to work in my lab and your tuition will be half covered. He didn't put it in their I-20. He typed it in the school letterhead and gave it to me to send to those people. Why? Just in case he can't, like the I-20 is a commitment. He didn't want to be committed, but he wanted to be able to process. But how did all these things work out? Through a link and through going after the science and not just emailing a professor from Nigeria and asking about money, which is what a lot of people do. Yeah. Sir, I cannot pay school fees. Will you pay? Sir, I want to work in your lab. What opportunities do you have? Oh, my name is James Andrew. I have a bachelor's in biology. I'm interested in doing masters in University of Alabama, for instance. Sir, I want to work under your lab. I like your research. Please let me know if you have any funding opportunities. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
No, that won't work.
I know, I hear you 100% there. And this is why I always tell people that this has worked for me as well, where I know people that have gone to help them to ask certain professors, about talking or even responding to their emails. This is why I always say it's important for you to know people. If you hear that your friend is doing a master's degree in Nigeria, you have a master's degree, rather than you sniggering, why don't you just ask, are there any opportunities that you know about? How can you help me in this process? Don't be alone, like ask people for help. Aside that, I just wanted to corroborate that as well. There was this lady that was also trying to email a lot of professors. They don't even finish reading it, right? So at the end of the day, I now told someone to go and help her ask the professor if he got the email. Let him just respond with a yes or a no, so that she can move on with her life, right? By the time he responded, he was like, I'm sorry, I got your email. I thought you were asking for this rather than that. So it's so important for you to know that in addition to you applying, that's great, and you might get in. That was how I got in. I applied on my own. Nobody helped me to go and knock on anybody's door. We're not saying that you should know anybody by force, by fire, but if it's a plus for you, if you know somebody in the department that you're trying to talk to that may be able to just help you, especially if you're finding it difficult to get into the program. But back to what Nike was saying about WES, another thing that I know works, if you are, and this might be a risky shot for you as well, if you know that eventually you want to go to the US or you want to go to Canada, or I don't know, whatever, even if you're in 300 level, you can start evaluating your transcripts now. Let it take 1 year or 2 years or whatever. Well, however much your transcript is, you can start now. By the time you're ready to graduate, all you just have to do is click on something on the West portal, like update or something, and your school will send the remaining part of your results to them. So you don't have to start all the way from the beginning. I'm not asking you to do this. I did this during my PhD, where when I was I think in my third year, I needed to do something with my transcript evaluated, and I opened my West account and they evaluated my small transcript as it was. By the time I finished my PhD, I just updated it, and that was it. So you can start now, and then by the time, I think, double check this, so that by the time you're ready, by the time you need your West, actually, it's already done and you don't have to worry about that. Nika, talk to me about GRE. Do people need GRE as of today?
All right, thank you. I actually have a point to make on what John and you said earlier, right? About, talking to professors and talking to students. Fine, yes. It's good. I'm not gonna be talking about talking to professors. It's good to have mentors, like talking to me, for example. I'm in, Cincinnati, and you want to apply to, say, a school probably in Georgia or something like that. Yes, I can help you with, review your application, review your CV and all of that. But during my application, one of the things I think helped me, because what you guys don't know is that in application, right, for my current program, students are on the application portal list, like they are part of the admission review, committee review.
What?
So during my application, yes, I had to make a presentation to the faculty and the students. So what I can say helped me was that during my application, before I started my application, I talked to, even all through my application, I made sure I had someone in the school I'm applying to, not actually in the school, in the program. I don't know any one of them. The actual lady that I met here is definitely an African American, and I just reach out to her. I'm interested in this program and I'm applying. I have my SOP and my statement of purpose and my CV, and I sent everything to her. She's in the program. She was already in like a third year or thereabouts, and she knew how things goes in that department. She knows that, okay, here are, how things go. She tailored my application, my statement of purpose into that program, and later on, during the application program, she told me about the students that are actually in the admission committee. Yes, I mean, okay, it's cheat, but it is what it is. And I got to meet some of them during, and then tips and information, little bits of information here and there that can help you in your application. These people have experience on what they see, what they are expecting in your application. So it's very, very important. If you can get someone, I mean, I'm pretty sure you typed in on LinkedIn, you definitely see students. They don't have to be Nigerians. You can talk to Americans. You can talk to Chinese. I mean, I'm not trying to be racial here.
I told them last week.
You can talk to anybody. Yeah. And what you think that you don't know is that they can even recommend PIs, professors, advisors that will just like help you, not even talking about funding here, but like, talking about your research experience and how you can integrate yourself into the program. And that's one thing that worked for me, and I think it's a really good point that you guys made mention of it, just to put that out there. Now, talking about GRE, well, during COVID, GRE was waived for basically most programs in the United States, but I don't know what everybody is looking forward to, but I would definitely advise you to take GRE. Fine, most if you're looking towards biomedical science or biological science, a lot of programs right now are waiving GRE and all of that. But if you're looking towards biostatistics, bioinformatics program and all of that, I would definitely say you should do GRE, even if you are going for biomedical science program, right? And one of the things all these programs are looking for is that, what are your research experience? Do you have research experience? Yes, you can say you do have, from your master's program or during your NYSC, or you can write something good, but sometimes you're competing with people all around the world, Chinese, Indians. Those people have wealth of experience from their undergraduates, even Americans during their summer, summer schools, they go do research in some institutes and some departments, and you're competing with them. One of the things that make you really, really competitive with your colleagues is your GRE. And if you don't have that, it may not be a good point for you, but it's always advisable to write your GRE and just, ace it well, no matter how low you think it is. It's just always a better option for me.
Yeah, so another thing that I know is right before COVID, they were actually trying to phase out the GRE because, and if you've studied in the US before, or you know about all these things, they started to argue. There was a lot that I forget what it's called. It's called Brexit actually, GRE exiting. So before COVID, people started saying that taking the GRE is not a measure of how well you perform during your PhD or your master's program, and that it should be waived. But majority of the schools that are waiving it right now are competitive schools that they will ask you to, that they need you to have 1 million research experiences. Those are the ones that are fighting for GRE exit, right? So if you say you don't want to write the GRE, you have to be powerful enough to apply to such competitive schools, right? Another thing, because it was in my department as well, where the discussion came up actually, and I was talking to my advisor that why would they waive it? Because GRE don't really is nothing. Like even the English we're writing in GRE, we're not even speaking it every day, right? And he told me that it's so important for their department because that's the only, they get a lot of international applicants, and that's the only way they can measure up to the American people or the other people from Chinese. That's the only universal thing, because they can't really compare your transcript from Nigeria to someone else's transcript in India or something. So the only thing that keeps everybody on the level, that levels everybody out, is the GRE. So you will see that most of the schools that haven't taken out that GRE requirement are schools that are actually looking for you, schools that are not very competitive, like University of Cincinnati, for instance.
That will take you.
Yeah, schools that will take you are the ones that will require GRE. So, be very, very careful about what is your, what's that word again that Abbas was telling me? I don't remember. Your deal breaker. Okay, Abbas, I'm going to ask you this. For biologists, is funding usually guaranteed? Have you heard of any person that came to study in the US for a biological sciences degree that did not get funding?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Abbas, and it's a pleasure to be on the panel today. At some point, I forgot I was on the panel because I was enjoying the whole program. And I'm sorry I'm taking your time because I know a lot has been said already. So I may find myself repeating what has been said. So, but before I go into that, I want you guys to know that this is a good opportunity. And if I was here, say 3 years ago, I wouldn't be here today. I would be in a better place for sure. So I would say do not take this for granted regardless. So going to the question you asked yesterday, I would say nothing is guaranteed in this life, right? So I've seen a lot of people with admission. I've seen those friends and those from other folks that are in biology-related courses without funding. But I think John has mentioned this already. It depends on the reason you're doing this. We all have different starting points. If you know you can afford to pay for your tuition and you have someone behind you that can pay for your living expenses, I will say, I think yesterday used this word, pursue the science and not funding. Or pursue science, not the money, right? So in some instances, I've seen folks getting masters without funding. But when you were here in the US, John mentioned this when he was talking, you can always reach out to professor in person and express your desire or your interest in working with them and getting GA. And also you can even get GA outside your department or outside your laboratory. I've seen someone in food science with GA in, say, communications. And they're going to pay for your tuition and they're going to give you stipends monthly as well. So largely it depends on how you play your games. So in order not to bore you with stories and all that, for sure, it is rare for you to get a PhD admission without funding, because that is a huge commitment. That's 5 years commitment. So I've not seen anyone with a PhD in biological courses without funding.
Yeah, you mostly will get funding. So that again should also encourage you, should let you know that what you're doing is important. And we explained this last week, we talked about how people get funding. Why is it that they're paying your school fees? What do they want from you? So we're not going to go through that again. But I like what you said about the fact that it's rare for you to try and apply and you not get funding. I want to ask you another question, Abbas. Can you get directly from bachelor's? You did it, but I want you to reiterate it again. From bachelor's to PhD without and skipping through the masters?
Yeah, it's possible 100%. And I'm a living testimony, right?
I am too.
Okay, see? So we're two on the panel now. I finished my bachelor's in 2015, service and all that. And I started my PhD in 2018 direct. So
did you apply directly to the PhD program or you applied for masters and then you transition?
I applied to PhD directly straight from Nigeria. So the belief is it's only when you have first class and you have a publication, that's where you get into a PhD program. No, it's not. If you're really keen for going into research in biology or any related courses, for sure, even with a 2-1, even with 2-2, if you play your cards really well, you can get into PhD directly. Many professors, as I've seen so far, from my own point of view, prefer to get a PhD student to getting master students because they know master is just for 2 years and they will invest their time, their energy in training you. Then by the time you start picking up, that will be like maybe 6 months when you finish, then you're gone.
That exactly. I said this yesterday, but it was when we were in the break, not yesterday, last week. It was when it was in the breakout room, but I'll say it again just in case some people didn't hear me. Most professors will want you to pursue a PhD rather than a master's because it is more financially, money is more financial, it gives them more financial value. So if they are going to pay your school fees, they will rather, because if you spend PhD 4 to 5 years, it means that you probably be able to do a lot of research, produce a lot of papers. They've already trained you, they've trained you once. Because at the end of the day, when you say you want to do a master's, it's going to take them 1 year to be able to train you, to take you through all the courses, and then you do the PhD, you rush and do the master's process for 1 year. They don't get a lot. Maybe your publication is not even complete by the time you're ready to get a job or go away. But with a PhD, they're very happy, to fund you. But that being said, it doesn't mean that you cannot get in with a master's degree. But we're just saying that from experience, we know that professors would rather take you on for PhD rather than for a master's. And this happened with Tolu as well, someone who's not on this panel. When she applied for a master's, she was talking to the professor, and the professor was just like, I'm not looking for a master's student. I want someone who wants to do a PhD. Would you still be interested? And she said yes, and that was it. So just so that you guys are understanding all these different dynamics.
In addition to what you said is correct. It takes to train somebody, it takes 1 year, then the person, before you know, the person is out. Another thing you can do, if you know it's masters that is in your mind, let me tell you something. There's a difference between what is in your mind and what you let the other person know. If you go to the consular, for example, you are not going to tell them that you want to stay in America and do a PhD when you come with a master's I-20. There's no way they're going to give you a visa because they want you to be able to prove that you don't want to migrate, that the intention is not for you not to return. But deep down within your mind, you know that if you jackpot from this place, you are not coming back to Nigeria. But you are not going to say it. So if you are writing SOPs to professors, in your SOP, try to include the next thing you want to do. I'm interested in masters because I want to learn all these fundamental things. I want to equip myself. I feel I'm equipped, but I feel that I still have some loose end to tie. Then I want to proceed into the PhD program. So if the professor doesn't want to give a master's person admission, he can call you and say, at the end of the day, you are going into a PhD. Let me just offer you a straight PhD. But when you say, I want to do a master's and you are out, it's not even going to think about that option because that is what is already in your mind. They don't want to change it. But when you give them the opportunity to say, like me, Stanford Health over in Sioux Falls, a very big hospital in the Midwest, They had me in their publication. They put me on the newspaper. What did I say I want to do next? I said, once I'm done my master's, I want to proceed to the University of South Dakota to chase a master's in biomedical engineering. And Stanford said, okay, if you apply, we will pay. Now let's finish paying up your master's. After I did my master's, I said, I'm out of here, right? So you can always change at the end of the day, but you need something to get you going. And one thing I want to tell you, sometimes you start, you don't even have the intention to stay. But when you see how exciting things are, you will even stay. That's what I know. You might say, oh, once I'm done my master's, I'm out of here. Now you start working on things. You see what you're doing is so great. You see what you're doing is so fun. That is why sometimes when you hear people spend like 7 years in PhD, it's not like they spent 7 years suffering. They so much fell in love with what they were doing that they forgot about the time.
100%. So before we move on to the breakout rooms, let me just reiterate everything that people have just said. So Nika, you talked about requirements. Of course, you need your transcript. You start early. We've already highlighted the importance of you starting early because it gives you a breadth of so many cases that you can apply to. I wanted to ask, and anybody can jump on this, do you need an advisor? Is it compulsory for you to write professors before you get funding? Or are there schools that we can, because again, that could be another deal breaker. Your deal breaker can be like, I don't want to go through the stress of applying. And I know, Nika, this happened to you, of applying to professors. I just want to go through the process, let them look at my transcripts, my GRE, and let them give me admission or not give me admission. Do we always have to go through that? Are there schools that do not require us to identify a mentor to advise us first before they give us admission?
I think I can go in on that. So it depends on the program, actually, different program. The school I had for my master's, I had my master's in, it's not like, yes, you have to, have talk to professors, like include their names in your statement of purpose, like, okay, these are the people that you are looking into joining the lab. And what that means is that they'll send your application materials to all these professors. And if those professors think that your application is worthy of admission, then you're good to go. But one of the pointers to that is that some programs, like my master's program, the funding does not come from your professor. It comes from the department. All right. So they admit you, you're not going to be a research assistant, you're going to be a teaching assistant. So either ways, your professor is funded or not, you're going to be funded for the 2 years of your master's. You're going to be a teaching assistant, and you get funded. And then when you come into the department, then you can look around, because some of the people you may talk to initially are just like people that you think that, yes, you guys have, the same background, or they're working on something you've worked on, and then you think that they can really, really relate with your experience. But moving forward, you think that, yes, you don't want to continue in this line of research, and, you just deviate when you get into the program, and you just be like, you jackpot. I did that twice. So that is perfectly okay. But there's some like, okay, yes, this is, you have to have a professor that is willing to take you into their lab and willing to fund you for those years before you make commitments with their lab. And to me personally, coming from with my experience personally, it's personal, all right. I think, currently in my current program, right, I talk to a lot of people that these are one of the things that I'm looking towards. Actually, this was because of my background, right? I had backgrounds in, molecular biology and, working with human microbiome, but recently I'm really, really interested in stem cells research. And I do not have any experience in that. I'm interested in stem cells and genomics and bioinformatics, all of them incorporated together. But if I had been talking to those guys initially, they would never have considered my application worthy of admission, because I literally do not have any experience in that. But the people that I talked to were people that had, microbiome research, and, I used that to pave way into the department, and, the department funded me, and then I left them and I go into into, so it depends on program. Generally it depends on program. You just look into what the program requires, if you have to have a definite mentor, and if the department is willing to fund it. And this is actually very important as well, because you may be talking to a professor, you like the research, you think that it's really cool, and the professor is willing to fund you, but then going forward, you see that your mentorship style, you guys do not like, their mentorship, probably they're hands-on, and they're expecting too much from you, and you feel like, yes, actually I don't really like the research, or I don't really like the professor, I don't like the lab, and you feel like, yes, you can leave. So it's all depends on the program that you apply to.
Yeah, no, that answer is important. And for those that don't really understand, there's a difference between teaching assistantship and research assistantship. And there's, so like I explained the last week, the way professors get their money to do their science is because they wrote a grant to different funding agencies and they got money. So in that money, there was a budget for 5 PhD students or 2 master's students, 1 postdoctorate. So they, even though they are within the department, it is really up to the professor to give you the admission because they are the ones that have the money.
Yeah.
Whereas there are some schools that are like, half, professors, you can have some of the students, but we also need students because the schools want teaching assistants. It's a lot cheaper for them to pay you $30,000 a year than for them to hire a professor to be paying $80,000 a year to be teaching. So the way they do it is they hire graduate students to teach their undergraduates, and they'll pay you $35,000 a year for you to do the job of somebody that they would pay like $80,000 a year to be teaching. So this is how it generally works. There are some departments that are looking for teaching assistants where, okay, even if you don't have a professor, they're like, okay, come, the department will fund you. All you just have to do is look through the faculty and go and look for anyone who is interested in you. So different programs, different styles. But I'll tell you again, also the schools that you apply to are important. There are some schools that, and again, this goes back to rolling admission. There are some schools that they strictly only admit students in the fall, meaning that they're only looking for students that will come and study in August. And most of them, their application portals closes between December and February. Those schools are highly competitive. There are other schools that they do rolling cycle admission. So they do both fall and spring, meaning that August admission and January admission. Those schools are not usually as competitive, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, are not usually as competitive as schools that have only once a year admission rates. So that might be your deal breaker too as well, where you're just looking for schools that are open also in fall and as well as the spring, because they're not as competitive as other schools. You know that you may have great transcript, great GRE scores, but don't forget that you are competing on a global level. So, even if your transcript may be here, there might be someone from China that their transcript is here. So be willing to be very careful about school selections. Be willing to go to schools that are not really popular. You have somebody here that is from Bowling Green State University. I've never heard of it before. And she can tell us if it is. Yes, but all people hear about is Harvard University, University of Cincinnati, so and so. There are schools that are looking for you, and because of the Google search algorithm, you might not get them. And this is why it's important for you to be here as well. When you're hearing of University of Arkansas, oh, I've never heard that before, let me look into that. If they were able to admit Abbas, one day maybe they will admit me to if I apply the right way, right? Or Bowling Green State University, maybe it's not as popular as others, or South Dakota State University, things like that. So Abbas, I wanted to go to you. How important is programs? This is the last question before we split into the breakout rooms, because you find students that are really passionate about fungi, but that might not be what is being. So I have this funny story, right? And this is why I'm asking this question. Again, this is a question about how to jack back exactly what happened to Muiz. So he studied entomology in Nigeria, but he had the passion to go into the biotech industry. And he had been trying to apply for years. And the only person that gave him funding was to study and something entomology related. So he got here, full funding, everything. He started studying mosquitoes and, a certain type of disease. But at the end of the day, which is great, right? At the end of the day, he wanted to work in the biotech industry. Again, going back to thinking about what you want, he wanted to work in the biotech industry, and he found it really difficult to get a job in the industry because all he had studied for 5 years during his PhD was insects. So how important is it for you to select really carefully what programs you go into? Again, these things are deal breakers for, how are you going to get funding? It might be that that's what the funding is. If that's where the funding is it going to give you the job later? You have to consider that as well. Now, it might be that what you're passionate about, where you want to work for the rest of your life, is not what is giving you funding. Is it okay? Because, for instance, there are some people, what may be hot right now is vaccine development research or cancer or cancer therapeutics or even computational biology. But people are stuck on the fact that they want to study aflatoxins or whatever, right? Maybe that's not where the funding is. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. How are they able to make these distinctions between funding, programs, which ones are open to them? You see that a lot of them are really scared. They don't want to go into computational bioinformatics because they don't have that ground training in Nigeria, and they're really afraid. So I just wanted to touch on that a little before we go into the breakout.
So, for sure.
I didn't finish my story. At the end of the day, this guy that wanted to go to the biotech industry, he couldn't get a job. Now he's back in medical school. So now he has decided to go and study medicine. So after spending 5 years getting a PhD, he's now back to he's now again wanted to jump out of the country, jumped out, couldn't not get a job after. Now he's now studying medicine, which, is not bad and it's not a discredit to anybody. But again, going back to thinking very carefully about what you really want to do in the future is important.
So I'm going to start from this point. In the US, you don't want to focus on the department, say, Department of Biology. You want to focus on the lab and the research going on in there. But the fact that myself and Adenike are in cell and molecular biology doesn't mean we have related research. It could be really, really, really distinct. So my point is, regardless of what your interest is, I think Muiz mentioned this when he was speaking, you want to think outside the box. And that word is popularly used, but sometimes it's really hard to relate with. And I was in that situation where someone would think outside the box. Like, excuse me, I'm not even inside the box. I can't see the box. How are you telling me to think outside the box? So what I'm trying to bring out from there is this thing you're doing right now, you've been here listening to people talking, is part of thinking outside the box. So by the time I say something, John says something, Nika says something, yesterday and all that, it's going to take your mind from where you are to another place or to many other places. So now back to yesterday's question. I had the same challenge when I was about coming to the US, and yesterday is well aware of this. My training was in microbiology, and my current boss is an engineer, agricultural engineering. My program is cell and molecular biology, and my home department is food science. You see how complicated that is?
Yeah.
So he was the one that reached out to me. Hi, Abbas, my name is, I saw your profile. I'd like to have you as a student. Are you willing to have some meetings with me? And I went through his profile, like agricultural engineering. What am I going to do with that? Tractors and all that? Nah, I have no interest. And again, I calmed down. Then I went into his page, his websites. I checked what he was doing. One of the research is grain drying. That's like the first part. The second part is on the safety of grain, which is the aflatoxin part. I'm like, okay, wait. Aflatoxin is secreted by fungi, which is a microorganism. Okay. So I was now kind of thinking, okay, what can I do? I was really confused. I reached out to Yetunde then I had one mentor back then in Nigeria. I reached out to the person. I'm like, oh, come on, Abbas, this is what you're going to do. Sometimes it's interesting and this and this. And I reached out to his students as well. And over time, I was able to combine everything together and make my decision. And here I am today. And I'm really glad I made that decision. So it looks as if I've derailed a bit from what Jason asked. But the main thing here is you don't want to be too focused on one particular area and say, if not stem cell, then it's nothing. You can find yourself in chemical engineering, doing something related to stem cell.
Yeah.
You may not actually be on stem cell, but what you're doing down in the pipeline will lead to stem cell. So if I were you want to open your mind a little bit, as wide as you can. Then you want to see what people are doing, what's been going on in different direction, and how you can bring that to what you really want.
Yeah.
And the US is really an interesting place to be. For the fact that I study cell molecular biology doesn't mean that after my PhD, my postdoc has to be in cell molecular biology. I can decide to go to maybe something about technology and start and learn Python on my own within 2 months, 3 months at home, and just jump out. The main thing is your reasoning ability. So you can imagine, say, you want to work in computer industry or computer industry, as you may have it, and you're in biology. Say you have the IgG, IgA, immunoglobulin, and all that. Okay, like after I'm done with this, then my plan is to look for a job in biotech company. You will get it. What they need is, are you ready to learn? Are you flexible? And how smart are you? If you have those three, then believe me, the sky is the limit. Some people will say the sky is the starting point, but for now, let's use the sky as the limit. Yeah, so I think there's another thing I want to say, but yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
I love that. That's like so important. Is don't, and I always use this person as an example. I think I've mentioned his name like two or three times now. He was somebody that I know studied biochemistry because again he wanted to jackpot. He came to the US to study economics. He realized that economics was not paying. Then he started trying to apply again for a PhD program. But this time around, he was looking into computer science department, and he didn't do anything computer related. Remember, he studied biochemistry, but they hired him because he was a biochemist, because he was going to do something within the pipeline of whatever machine learning they were going to do that was going to lead to drug development. And they needed somebody who was a biochemist to bridge that gap. So depending on your Google search algorithm, you might just go on Google and be like, schools in the US that are doing program in microbiology, that might be limiting you. Be very flexible with what with the departments that you even look at. Look at what he said. His PhD is in the Department of Agriculture. Some people won't even look there if they are doing cell and molecular biology. So be very aware of all these things. These are the things that can limit what opportunities are available to you. It might be that that's where you get your admission, but you are so focused on the fact that you are looking only at the Department of Cell and Molecular Biology, but it's someone in the computer science department that is looking for you. So don't be afraid to spread your tentacles wide, and the sky is your limit. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Abbas here, he shared with me that he wrote 1,000 letters. Was it 1,000 letters he said he wrote? No jokes, he wrote 1,000 letters, but Nike only threw out one application and it hit. Can you believe that? Right? So someone that I just talk about that a little bit. Like, Abbas, that's crazy. Why would you write 1,000 letters? Can never be me. I'm very sorry.
It is crazy. It is crazy, and to some people, it could appear as either being smart or being dumb. There are two faces to it. If you ask me, I had no direction then. I had no guidance, right? That's why I said, you people that are here today are kind of lucky, because sometimes, in a way, your thoughts are being streamlined into what to do or not to do. So what I did back then was, I met some people like, Jerry, what is Jerry? Jerry can take it to the US. Really? Check out US schools in the US. And I started doing that. I was waiting for my call-up letter to go for NYSC then. So I was still at OAU, just moving around and doing one of the things. So I just go to State Department of Microbiology, University of Arkansas. They still like 30 professors. So what I did then was just to go to their link, get their email, write them. My name is Days, trying to show myself, but it didn't work. And that brings me to another point, that whenever you want to reach out to someone, you want to make sure you know whom you're writing to. And you also want to put in some things that show that, okay, this person has done his or her assignment before reaching out to me. Because let's say I'm not as busy as some professors right here, right? I don't respond to all my messages and emails because some are just so overwhelming when it comes to reading through letters. No, what do you want? That's the question. And this begs the question of being precise.
Yeah.
So when you write, what I did then was I felt I was good at writing. What's there? My name is this, compose, email, send it out. No response. Over 1,000. That was not really, if I were you, I wouldn't do that. And that's the reason why I'm saying this, so that you learn from my mistakes. Sometimes I enjoy learning from my own mistakes, or at some points, or sometimes it could be overwhelming as well. So you really want to make sure what everyone has said today, it's a lot of information, and sometimes it could be hard to digest.
Yes.
So just pick one or two from today and reach out.
Reach out. That's it.
Start reaching out.
Reach out.
Instead of asking the same questions over and over and over again. So I was just in the jungle when I was applying, but my mindset was bent on, I have to get it. So I was even prepared on writing 1,000 more emails. No jokes. But it wasn't really effective enough, but for me, it was effective.
Yeah, let me
because it didn't give you admission. And by the way, whoever gave you admission, you didn't even write to them. Do you realize that?
But I was getting better and better over time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Getting better and better. I was getting smarter in applying. I was getting smarter in how to navigate things without anyone telling me what to do. So I found myself learning on my own. Well, that could be demanding. You guys are lucky enough to be here, so you don't have to go through the jungle to learn things that could be learned in just 1 minute.
John, do you have something to say? Your hand is raised. Before I'm going to split everybody now. Muiz, can you show us your video? I don't know. John disappeared away from my screen. Okay, I see him back now. Any words, like any last, because I'm splitting you guys now into, oh my God, the time is like 12:10. Maybe we're going to end everything now at 12:25 so that people can just ask you questions. Again, this is about reaching out to people. I know that a lot of information has been shared today, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do with it? It might have been a lot, but reach out to somebody, ask specific questions. What you said is so important. There are some people that send me, I've gotten emails from people, and I've shared this before, where they're just like, hi, my name is Yetunde. I'm interested in molecular biology, and I just wanted to reach out. What do you expect me to say to that? I'm not going to respond to you because you didn't ask me any question. So ask questions. Yeah, if you are writing that to a professor, they're not even going to respond to you. Ask definite questions. Be very clear and concise. People don't like long story. That's another thing that I know. They want you to go straight to the point. Right? Be very clear and concise about what you're asking, and reach out to people. Ask people to read your letters for you. How does it sound to them? What is the lingo? Some lingo can, you might be saying this thing and professor will not really understand it, right? So reach out to people, ask for help. John, you want to say something?
Yeah. I just want to touch base on what Nick and Abbas said. When you're looking for schools, first of all, ask yourself, does that school have a PhD program in the course I'm applying to? Because if it does have a PhD program, there's a very slim chance that if you're going in for a master's, you will get funding, because all the professors are channeling the funding towards those guys doing PhD. And whenever a professor doesn't have money, the PhD student or the professor with a PhD student has priority to pull a TA fund from the department. Now, you will hear people say you can have a TA in another department, which is correct. But now you have to think about the fact that those other departments too, we also have students who are also looking for TA. So when you look at a school and the program ends in a master's, for instance, you're going for cellular biology and they only have cellular biology masters, there's no cellular biology PhD, there's a high chance you will get funding because all the funds stops at the master's level. So the TA and the ROA stops at the master's level. At the University of Cincinnati, the master students don't get funding, except very special master students that are like, that are Americans. that the professor will take in their lab. But the PhD student gets all the funding, get healthcare, get everything, I was paid $30,000 in Cincinnati, my assistantship combined. Then another thing, what Abbas said, when I did my master's, my mechanical engineering professor was doing blood flow simulation. What is my business with blood? What is the business of a mechanical engineer with blood? But now you can see that you are applying fluid mechanics. And fluid mechanics is one of the core areas of mechanical engineering. But now you are not applying fluid mechanics. The first description the guy gave me of a human, you guys are biologists, of a human, where you talk about the arteries and all those veins and all those carrying blood and all that. He said the human body is like a city. A city, you get water, right? You get water, you get sewage system, you get clean water, you get your sewage system and your dirty water go through another channel and it gets processed and it come back. So the body is a city. Now, I'm not doing the blood, I'm not doing water and pipe. Definitely the water goes through the pipe. I'm doing arteries and blood, which is the same thing as pipe and water. Just two different things, but the same concept. If there's a 90-degree bend in your body and there's a 90-degree bend in a pipe, what will happen in your body is almost similar. We can use what will happen in a pipe to kind of understand what will happen in your body. So you can see that's what Abbas was trying to make mention of. Not because you read microbiology, you will start saying, who is doing microbiology? Who is doing anatomy? No, you have to look for that individual. That person that is doing what you like can be in the department of let me say physiology, can be polymer science,
polymer chemistry, yeah,
exactly. But the guy is doing something that is related to that thing you have interest in. So you have to think way beyond just the name of the course, because now you are going into a research. Now, if you are a PhD holder, you are considered an expert. It's not only carrying the degree and just have, I'm a PhD. When you say something, people agree without having too many questions. They say, okay, that is what we are going to go with. Even some of the startup companies that I lead, if we get a research point or something that's very difficult that people don't have time to do, what do? We go to universities and say, just pay one professor $100K and throw it on the heads of graduate students. Those people, they don't have what they are doing, they'll solve it. That is how those professors get all this money. And we give difficult problems and they come up with solutions. Then we start asking ourselves, we that are the professionals, why can't we come up with this solution? Because why? Those people in grad school are a different generation. They're under different atmosphere. They are worried about something different. They are thinking and exploding. Why people that are in the workforce are not having that spirit no more? So that is why it's always encouraged that, just like you're saying, you reach out to mentors. You look for somebody to read your essays, because the way you write is different from the way an American will read something. Then you look for somebody that is here, because if you're in Nigeria now, you have internet. You might not have access to internet very well. You might not have access to this. And I will say one thing, not all emails get to professors. There are some institutions that are set up to block. They have firewalls against Gmails, against Yahoo Mails, against Hotmail. So when you send it to a professor, if that professor had been a victim of something that was not nice, maybe they sent him an email, he opened it and virus got into his computer, the school will set up a firewall. So you that you are in Nigeria, you are just emailing one professor and you're thinking that he's not responding, he's not seeing it. Now, the first thing they give you when you come to school in America is an email ending with .edu. That .edu, that educational email, it blasts through our channel. If you have an EDU email, I still have my school's EDU email. My South Dakota State, I still have it. My Cincinnati, I still have it. Because why? If I use that email now to write any institution, even NASA, it goes through. But in Nigerian education system, we don't really have all these .edu emails in our public schools. A lot of people just stick with Gmail. So that is why it's good when you are facing that limitations, you're not getting responses. Just like Abbas was saying, if I was here 3 years ago, things would have been better. When you are facing all those kind of situations, you will have another alternative. You can call somebody here and say, I'm trying to talk to Dr. James. He's in molecular biology at the University of Dayton. The person can say, okay, I'll get a hold of him. The person picks up their phone. It's free call and call for you. Or the person shoot Dr. James an email using their work phone and say, hey, I got a student for you. This what it is, this what it is. And because it's within America, those email goes through. You know, these things use IP. That is why you see Nigeria, when they stop Twitter, the best way for people to get Twitter in Nigeria is to go to VPN, because the VPN places them in a different location and they're able to get whatever they want.
Right.
But now think about, you're not using VPN or you're not using, once that IP is coming through, we don't, just forget it. It stops. Then there's what we call a 2-minute elevator speech, or they don't know, an elevator speech. An elevator speech is a situation, assuming you met Bill Gates, you guys are about to enter elevator is lift. And Bill Gates is going to the next floor and he says, hey, Matthew, tell me about yourself. What will you tell Bill Gates that will make Bill Gates get to the second floor and leave and tell his associates that he wants to connect with you again? What are the first few words you will write in an email that's going to make a professor read further? Some people can be very crazy. They can say, hey, my name is Andrew. Sir, why does protein act this way in your research? And those are the things that really get people to say, oh man, who is this guy? What is this guy talking about? Before they figure out what this guy is talking about, they have read all through your this thing and seen that you're looking for a PhD.
Oh, yeah, right. And like, I just wanted to say this as well. Like, I'm on ResearchGate, and whenever you publish your paper, it gets to ResearchGate. So there was a student that whenever you publish, your professor becomes like the correspondent. So if anybody has a question about your data or whatever, they reach out to your professor. And this is another way you can reach professors as well, by building those relationships, just like John said. One of the students had a question for me about the way that I grew, my bacteria over a period of time. She wanted my raw data to be able to simulate. She was a computer scientist or something. So she wanted the raw data that I used. So I was doing it's called a kill kinetics assay, where I'm trying to see how my drug is killing my bacteria per minute, right? So I had to like do a kinetics assay where I'm growing my bacteria with my drug and I'm measuring what's happening to my bacteria at every single time point. She now wanted that raw data for every single time point. What she did was, on ResearchGate, she reached out to my professor and she was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I need this data for this type of simulation. And from there, she got in contact with my advisor. Tomorrow, if she wants to reach out and show more interest in the research, she has already built a relationship there, right? She didn't have to say, oh, I'm interested in the money, I want an assistantship. Her question was about my research, right? And then my professor reached out to me and was like, hey, Yetunde, where's the research from this particular that somebody needed? Because it is their responsibility for them to be able to respond to those types of emails. That's why you are publishing it, right? So these are different tips and tricks, in the heart of different people that can. So we don't waste time, please. Let's go into the breakout room. Nike and John, I'm going to put you together. Muiz and Abbas, I'm going to put you together. You guys ask them any questions that you want for the next 20 minutes, and we'll call it a day. So 12:45, we can end the meeting and then we can go. Thank you guys for waiting. Put it in the chat if this has been really helpful to you while I'm setting up the breakout rooms. And you may have to click on something on your screen so that you can go and chat with them one-on-one. You can unmute and ask questions. Let me see. Put it in the chat, you guys. Let's know how this has helped you. Thank you, Naomi, Abbas, and Muiz.
Yes, somebody. Hafizu is raising up his hand.
Yeah, he can ask you guys when he's in the breakout room. That's why we're doing
Okay.
Nite and John. John, what's your name? Your name is John. Okay.
Did you change my name?
No. I just did this. You guys can go to the breakout rooms and then I'll assign people. Abbas, do you want to join your breakout room? Tosin, Faith, and Tomiwa. I don't know why you guys are not in your breakout room. Faith. Thank you to all our speakers. I really, really appreciate your help. We've gone way above time. Our speakers would have to go now, but I can stay for 30 more minutes. If anybody has any more questions, we can box the questions together and figure it out. Please put it in the chat before you go. Thank our speakers. Let us know how this has helped you. Let's know. Put it in the chat. Let's know if this has helped you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Abbas. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nike. Thank you, Moise. We want to encourage you on your journey. Don't be afraid, even though you've heard a lot of things, don't let that discourage you. Reach out to people. That's why we're here. Now you know that someone like Moise exists or someone like Abbas exists. You can always reach out to them privately and ask for help. Let us know if this has helped you, and let's just know. We like to know so that if we can continue something like this in the future. You're very welcome, Naomi. So only Naomi and Abdurrahman. Now, wow, all these people.
Yeah, I will say something real quick. For the 21 people that are here, if you have these dreams, chase it. Nothing great comes easy. Nothing great comes easy. Keep the faith. Ask questions. Make the right connections. Spend your time on what makes you grow. Not catching crews and catching vibes and not really being focused. If you're still in school, try to start thinking ahead. If you're already out of school, work with somebody here, come up with a plan, maybe a 2-year plan, because this overseas is not what you just get 6 months. That is it. Come up with a plan. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Come up with a plan. Don't be afraid. And as part of me trying to give back, I will pay application fee for 5 students who are where they want to, where application fees, what they have to pay. Reach out to you today. You should reach out to me. I will pay for 5 students.
Hearing this, oh my God.
Anything they can't do, and now they have had all the documents, because when I want to pay the application fee, I'll need the login details, and there are check marks you have to have submitted for it to even get to that point of paying application fee. I will see that you have tried, you have paid all those things. Then we look at your profile.
Yeah, we'll work with you.
I will pay for the application fee. It's not expensive. Wow. I can increase it to 10. I can increase it to 20. It all depends on what is the level of effort coming from you. I can even increase it to 21 so that everybody here get a chance, and so that you can go ahead and chase those things.
What? Oh my God. Thank you so much, John. Are you guys hearing this? John, thank you. It was so great.
There's no problem.
Wow, you guys have my email. I'm going to set up a way for you to apply for this scholarship that John has just given everybody. Abbas wants to unmute. Reach out to us. We're happy to help. We asked Abbas when Abbas was still an undergraduate. He reached out to me when I was doing my PhD, and from there we started talking. We started working together on his application until he got here. So people are always happy to help you, John. We're so grateful, and we'll not only give you the money, we'll work with you as well. Oh my God, thank you so much, John. I don't even know what this was.
So before I go, I just want to ask just one question. So am I also qualified for the money?
I
feel like reapplying again. No.
You guys heard, it is if you are ready. If you have,
I am ready.
It is if you are ready. If you have all your GRE, your application materials, this is the right time. Now America is open, right? The application portal is going to start as soon as in September. I can even work with you. I can start looking for schools that are not so competitive. I'm really excited about this. Adenike also wants to tell you, if you want money, we're not giving you money, anything that doesn't enter Cincinnati.
Oh my God, no, actually not. What I want to make is if we have anybody here, I know mentorship is really, really paramount, and it's just important. I don't know how you guys think about it, but you need someone to guide you through. I know how that helped me in my admission into children's, and I am willing to open up my wealth of experience to at least 5 people that I know, yeah, within the course of, because if you're looking towards for 2021, then you have to get your application started by September. So
Yes.
I'm open a door of opportunity, even though I know I have other people that maybe, but to 5 people. And if I can work with those 5 people, probably I can do at least one application fee for them. But I need 5 seriously minded. Seriously.
So I have assigned now is to set up a way for people to apply to get in contact with you guys, get this scholarship.
Minded people that we can work together, work on at least 5 to 6 applications before the end of the year so they can make up to August 2022. So if anybody is interested, I'm really, really, really open to working with anybody. That's it.
Wow. Thank you guys so much.
Emphasis on seriously minded.
No, I'll make sure of that.
So going through
Now I feel intimidated.
TV and all of that.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So the ball is on your court. You want to move, you want to do anything. Just let me tell you something. Don't worry about the money first. Keep going. When you get to that point where you are stuck, there's always a way.
Yeah.
You don't know the way, don't think about it, but keep going. A lot of people think about, oh, I'll not be able to do this. Who will pay before they even get started? If I thought about who was going to pay for my master's when I was in NYC and sleeping in Corpus Lodge, I won't be here today. If I didn't didn't save money from my NYC and rag around and go to the embassy without a I-20 without scholarship, I won't be here. Even when I got a scholarship, people said, you don't have any funding. Stay back in Nigeria. Who is going to pay even if you have a visa? I said, let me go and try. If I get there, it doesn't work, I just go back and say, I'm from Nigeria, I'm going back home. After I still have a visa, then I go back home. The visa is valid for 2 years. So that was the intention. But just like Abbas mentioned earlier, the greatest mistake you want to make is not to try. That's it.
Thank you so
So
much.
I'll work with you on all those things.
Thank you so much. I will send out an email about all the things that we've talked about and this scholarship opportunity. We'll let our speakers go now because they've spent close to 3 hours. What am I talking about with us today? Thank you all. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nike. Abbas had to leave because he had another meeting. Thank you, Moise. Thank you so much. Anybody that has any more questions, I will wait for an extra 20 minutes and then we can talk. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all right.
I'll reach out to you. Wow. You guys, I want to just say, well done. You guys have stayed behind. These are some of the things. Some people rush out, oh my God, like I don't even know what to say. And it's important. People are always willing to help. When I finished my PhD, I did the same thing. I just randomly helped 5 people. I just randomly helped them and they're doing different great things now. I paid their application fee. One of them is the person I told you is in Germany that just got like an admission. We tried US, it didn't work. Now she just got an offer from Germany. And she's doing great things. So anybody has any more questions before we go? There are 15 of you still remaining on the chat. Melvin wants to ask any question. Let me ask you on mute.
Hello. Okay, so I'm majoring
What time is it in Kenya?
It is almost 7:56 p.m.
Oh, okay, that's not good.
Yeah. So as I said, I'm majoring in epidemiology and biostatistics. I'm a junior, so I'm about to graduate, but I've not done any research. How would you like what should I do to make myself like competitive in the postgrad applications.
So you're in 300 level, and in your school in Kenya, do you guys do undergraduate research?
Okay, so like EpiBio, the short form is EpiBio. It's usually done in master level, but in the university that I'm at, it's offered at undergraduate. So they don't really offer any research opportunities for undergraduates, only at master level. So the conflict is that I'm an undergraduate, not masters. So that's where the issue is.
So, I would say don't let that be a deterrent for you. You're in 300 level. You've already heard now. What should you do? Go for internships. You're in 300 level. Start applying to internships. You can do internships anywhere you want. Just start applying to those internships, and internships that will give you the research experience that you need. If you know that you want to do something in cell or molecular biology, or even if you just want to do something in public health, which is usually heavy on data analysis, just start looking for those volunteering opportunities. We talked about this in the first webinar, and I know you weren't there, but this is how you put yourself out there. Not only are you getting relevant experience, but you also meet people that can chat you on the course towards your career success. And I know it's difficult, but it's doable. People do it all the time. People get internship opportunities. You may have to pay for some of the internship opportunities, but again, think about what the experience you're going to get out of it and where it is taking you. I know for sure now that, especially now that you're doing epidemiology and public health, there are so many public health research institutes that are just looking for, especially with the COVID, there was one I even volunteered for, that are just looking for people that can remotely volunteer and analyze data, and they will train you and things like that. I should do better at actually writing out all these opportunities that I know about and just shooting it out to people. But time is always the thing. So that's just my answer to you. How can you prepare yourself, in addition to everything that we've just said, is for you to do internships and volunteer, always volunteer, so that you can get the experiences that your school is not giving you. I know it sounds broad, but that's just the short and long answer to that question. Any other person has any more questions? Did I help you, Melvin?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry, I was having problems.
Faith, we can. Okay, Faith is talking to me. It's on a different level. Any other person has any other question? Questions, or I'm leaving. It's 1 p.m. Oh my gosh. Any other questions? Or you guys just want to be seeing my face? Ask me questions now. Okay, let me ask you guys, who is in the application process? Because they just gave scholarship, and the scholarship is only for people that are ready to apply yesterday. So how many of you on this chat? Let me even start taking notes of you guys, so that you are the ones that I will prioritize. How many of you are ready to apply? You have Faith is applying. Okay. Who else? How many of you are ready to, have you graduated and you want to go to grad school in USA? Because that's what they promised you. Only Faith. Okay, Faith will collect all the 21 scholarships. Faith, you can apply to 21 schools. Okay, Chidima. Chidi. Who else? She's waiting on her transcript to apply. Who else? Hafizu is applying. And I'll ask for all these things. It's not just by you saying I'm applying. We're not just going to give you the money. We'll pay the money for you ourselves. Who else? No one is ready to apply. Tosin is rounding up his master's in a couple of months. So Tosin, when Will you be ready to go to school in August 2022? Chukwamaka, the same question is for you. Chukwamaka, you graduated, but you're doing your NYC. Would you be ready if you get admission? Because the next admission cycle is for August 2022. Would you be ready? Adekweju, she's graduating in this September. Okay, great. And she wants to start her application. So Faith is ready for August 2022. So Faith is ready. Chidima Judith is ready. Hafiza Mohammed is ready. Adekweju is ready for August 2022. Who else is ready? Chuku Amaka is rounding up in May, so you can do that. I'm actually writing you guys down. But I'll still send out the email to everybody. I know the 100 people. Anyways, I have a report of who attended. Faith, and you can take attendance too. Because those are the only people I'm going to prioritize for. Ulua Folakemi says she's ready. I'm ready for August 2020. She'll be graduating in September. That's great. She's ready. Who else is ready? Ready. Okay, well, any more questions while we're finding out who is ready? Someone is messaging me privately. Naomi is graduating this September and she's planning. Don't plan, or be ready. Okay, I'll put your name down. Naomi, maybe we're going to have like a separate meeting where we talk about all these things. And especially for these people that you guys are not really ready, but you want to start, we can talk about what you need to start doing now. Like now. Who else? Nobody else? No more questions? Okay, well, let's be going. Let's be going. Since you people don't have any more questions. Any more questions? I'm asking now. No more questions, okay? I'm actually still recording. I should stop recording. Yeah, stop recording.